children of the night, what music they make. They're all gonna laugh at you.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's that?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash you open.
Welcome back to Final Guys, the most random podcast in all of horror. I'm Jack, and that's Jason. We're the skeleton crew tonight.
Yeah. It's a good thing we have four of us now because we wouldn't have a show.
I hate when people have lives and they can't just join us.
Or when they're douchebags.
I view this as like my Tuesday night poker game, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't miss.
So Hunter's not around, Tim's not around, but you know, that's okay. The main attractions here.
The smart people are here, so it's fine.
The scholars.
Yeah, no Tim. Thank God.
The freaking long-haired hippie. Tonight's featured film is a Shudder exclusive, Random Acts of Violence. With was it Jay Baruchel? Is that how you say it?
I have no idea how to say his name, but we'll go with that.
Let's go with that. Who is like, this is the end. He's part of the Judd Apatow gang. He was in that She's Out of My League movie.
Oh, yeah. Funny guy.
Yeah. And so we'll talk about that. When we do get to it, we'll do non-spoilers first. Then we'll ring the spoiler bell. So you can stick around for the initial review. And if you don't want to be spoiled, you can take off. But before that, we're going to do some news. We're going to do some movie reviews and our picks. Anything to report before we get into things?
Just piggybacking off what I said last week, the month is officially ended and we had our best month ever by a long shot. So thanks to everyone new coming in and people leaving reviews and everything and coming on the live stream live Tuesdays at 8 on YouTube. We appreciate all you guys and thanks for helping us out.
Yeah, I echo that. Every time somebody retweets us or there's those people on Twitter who are like request a podcast. And anytime it throws Final Guys or Monster Men up there, I'm just like, oh, that's so great to see. So thank you.
Yeah, we got a pretty solid contingent that really does a good job promoting us. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, enough of the thank you crap. These people are going to want to get a big head.
Yeah, I see Sheridan and Lutsky in the chat, those losers.
Lutsky. Okay. Just a little news before we get into what we watch, because there's nothing going on. But I found a couple of little nuggets. Did you know that there's going to be a Resident Evil series on Netflix?
What? Based on the movie series? Or
based on the movie series, set in the world of Resident Evil. Titled Resident Evil. Will carve out a fresh story while incorporating elements familiar to fans of the franchise. It's going to take place in two timelines. So I guess it's about two sisters. And one is they move to the new Raccoon City when they're 14. So there's that timeline. And then there's when they're 30 years old and the world is ravaged by the T virus. So it's probably two different actresses for each character. And it's going to be 8 episodes.
Does anyone like the movie series? Like, I asked that in all honesty. I don't understand how they keep getting made.
I don't know. I've seen the first one several times. I don't know if I've seen any of the other ones start to finish.
I guess I've kind of wondered if they're Europe drives these, European ticket sales. I don't get it. So it feels like this would be a great series to reboot. I mean, there's a cool story in there that's just been destroyed.
I don't know if this is an actual reboot or not. They were kind of vague about that. Set in the world, but one guy in my office though, he said this is the only video game that ever actually scared him.
I think it was the last Resident Evil 7 maybe I was playing. I don't even know if I finished it. I literally had to play it in chunks because it was so freaking intense. It was way more hardcore than watching a movie for the most part. It was a lot. I need to see if I have to finish that actually.
Isn't the dude from Game of Thrones in that first one? The guy who was in love with Daenerys, the older guy. Was he like the bad guy?
Dude, it's been a long time. I don't
I think
even
he
know.
like he's in the scene where the lasers come and they cut you in half or something. I don't know. It's all vague.
Oh, maybe he was on that team. I don't remember. Dude, I haven't watched that in forever.
That was one of those ones that when it first like HBO showed it like all the time for like a year. So I kept seeing like it in chunks.
I was very excited to watch it when it came out because I liked the first game. And then, yeah, I was like, it's okay. The first one's not terrible. It's just, it's not what it should have been. I think Romero was supposed to do it originally and got cut out.
Mila is easy on the eyes.
She's okay in that. She's quite naked too. So the movie's okay.
But I don't know anything about the mythology. I know the Umbrella Corporation, Raccoon City, and
That's all you need to know.
that's it. All right. The other piece of news, I'm only doing 2 pieces of news. Have you seen the Lower Decks cartoon of Star Trek?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. No.
I haven't seen it either, but I'm aware of it. So it's a cartoon about kind of like the other people on the Enterprise or on a starship, and it's animated and it's a comedy. Well, there's going to be a X-Files X-Files version of this called X-Files Albuquerque. So Mulder and Scully are not in it, but it's another branch, and they get like the crap jobs that Mulder and Scully wouldn't take. I think Chris Carter is involved in it.
Is it live action or
no?
animated?
It's animated.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where this is going to be aired, but keep an eye out for it. I don't know. I would love to watch Lower Decks, but I'm not going to pay for CBS access or whatever it is. So if X-Files is on something I can access, I will certainly watch it, and if not, I will read reviews about it.
And I haven't heard any good things about the last Star Trek. There's Picard, and I think there was another one. I just hear people are very not happy. So I'm not a huge Star Trek guy anyway. When it's really good, I like it, but I don't, it's not like horror. I don't slog through the crap. So I haven't been into anything for quite a while.
Well, keep your eye out for X-Files Albuquerque. And that's all the news I got for this week.
Yeah, it's slim pickings, but we have drinking words.
Oh, that's right. We do have drinking words.
You want me to do it?
Yes, please.
All right.
Well, too much.
Thanks to Sheridan. If you hear these words coming out of Jack's mouth, take a drink. Graphic, goon, or copycat. And out of my mouth would be torture, gas, and head. And the bonus words are shudder, gore, and hunter. And
as in Hunter Shea sucks at horror.
He sucks at life, really. I mean, he should be here. Blowing us off like an asshole.
Son of a bitch. All right, let's talk about what we watched this week.
We have such sights to show you.
All right, first of all, Caroline in the chat gave me kudos for my Jaws hat. So let me just show everybody. Awesome.
Oh, that is nice.
Take a look at those dimensions. Those are correct.
I got a Fright Rags hat, my Monster Vision hat, but it doesn't fit me worth a shit like every goddamn hat.
They do these like pre-worn out things. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to do that to my hat anyway. You don't need to rip it ahead of time. Although what I usually happens to my hats is I get the salt.
Yeah, the sweat.
Salt, yeah. I have Red Sox hat that it looked khaki colored, and if you look closer, you're like, wait, that used to be dark blue.
That's lovely.
All right, so we got to cover a lot of ground because there's nobody else here. So you have got, I'm sure, a lot because you're the franchise guy. So what did you dig into?
Well, who wanted me to do this? I think it was Audra on Twitter suggested I do It's Alive, the series starting in 1974, written, directed by Larry Cohen.
Hunter just watched these.
He did a couple months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't even have them on my list until he covered them. And I have seen the first one, but in rewatching it, I remembered very little. Basically, I remembered the stuff with the baby, of which there's almost nothing. So the pace of this, I'm not going to lie, it was definitely a movie from 1974.
Yeah.
It started off pretty cool, and then it kind of dragged, and then there was a couple of cool things, but I liked it. I didn't love it, and I could definitely see why this is not a series people think of as like a classic movie series all the time, because it's not bad, it's not great, but all these series usually have one movie that everybody loves, and then it kind of kicks off a bunch of shit afterwards.
Yeah.
And this was fine. The baby was cool, although sometimes when they would shoot and show it, I'm like, that kid is like 2 feet tall, but I found a lot of the stuff really funny, where this infant comes out and kills all these doctors and nurses and then disappears out of skylight. And all these cops are going through town looking for it, and they're just like looking under bushes and looking behind garbage cans. It's like so ridiculous to watch. But, and then the main actor, was it John P. Ryan here? I feel like that was his name. Yeah, John Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
He shoots the child at one point, and it just gets away, and then he finds it later, and it's like pissed off that he shot it and it's hurt, but it's still alive. It's like, what the hell is going on with this? So I don't know a lot of the story behind this. I don't know if Larry Cohen was just having kids and was scared to death, or maybe he hated children. I don't know what the deal was, but it's an interesting film, and if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. But be prepared for a 80s movie. It's going to be slower. There are going to be scenes where people are just kind of walking around. You're like, why is this in the film?
Mm-hmm.
But, solid movie. Definitely worth a watch. So I'm glad I revisited it.
So now I can't wait to see how the rest of this unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's funny you say that, what you said about older movies, because our most recent Monster Man that Hunter and I did, we talk about werewolves. And one of the movies that we were talking about with our guest, Michelle Garza, was Curse of the Werewolf, which is from 1961.
I'd never heard of this.
This is the Hammer werewolf movie. It's got Oliver Reed is the main actor in it, and it's like the first like blonde werewolf. Was it? Yeah, 1961. This is a movie that I vaguely remember from my childhood and have not seen and keep meaning to watch. We talk about all the same werewolf movies over and over again, and I was like, oh, I got to watch Curse of the Werewolf again. So I finally, because of the Monster Man, I told Michelle I was going to watch it. So I did, and it's very interesting because this movie, some people will tell you that this is one of their favorite movies and it's a total classic and it's a beautiful story. And other people you talk to will say this movie is really boring until about 45 minutes in.
Right.
So I watch it, and number one, yes, you have to put I'm watching a 60s movie, so the pacing is a lot slower. And this Hammer movies for me, I love them as a kid, but I also remember like waiting for the monster part to come and then being terrified for 5 minutes.
Right.
And then the talking part would come on again. So the interesting thing about this one is it really takes its time getting to the werewolf, because the premise is that this child is born because his mother was raped in a prison by a prisoner. And then he was born on Christmas Day. And so the way he becomes a werewolf is because he's cursed, not because of being bit by a wolf or anything like that. And so you the whole like mother episode of that whole thing is shown. Then they show the kid as a little kid where he has some like wolf incidents. And then halfway through the movie, you get to Oliver Reed, who's the star of the movie, as the full-grown guy. And then he goes out into the real world, and then naturally he turns into a wolf. And I think it's a must-see for anybody who wants to see all the werewolf movies. You should probably go back and check out one of the classics. When you watch it, the climax of this movie is all in the rooftops of this town. And so if you watch the Wolfman remake, you'd be like, oh, I see where that came from. But there's not a ton of werewolf action in this movie. So again, I would watch it more as a historical piece. And I think there's going to be some people who are going to be like, "You're crazy. This is one of the all-time greats. It's a beautiful story." I erred on I thought it was okay, but a little slow. I felt like they could have punched this up. They didn't need to spend so much time on the kid's childhood. They could have done some flashbacks or skipped over and just explained it a little bit and done a little more werewolf stuff. But I'm very happy to finally have gotten up to date on this one. And it's funny that you've never even heard of it.
No, I don't. I did not recognize the name at all. I've heard of Curse of the Wolf, which is a really not good movie. Yeah, so basically it sounds like you had the same opinion I had of It's Alive. Yeah, this is worth watching. I like it, but I don't consider it a classic.
Yeah, but like I said, there are people out there who will be like, no, this is one of the all-time great movies. And other people will be like, I'm never turning that boring piece of crap on ever again. So,
I'm sure we've talked about this, but why is it that there are so few good werewolf movies?
I think part of it is the special effects. It's so hard to make a wolf look good.
Yeah, maybe.
So people don't even try it. And then, I don't know, American Werewolf in London is the example of it's just so well written, and it doesn't rely on it's not just about the wolf. It's about the guy and what he's going through. And the wolf is, part of the story, but it's not, you know what I mean? Like when you watch one of these, Netflix werewolf movies, it's just all about the werewolf and all that. There's no real character work. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I would like a super intense werewolf movie like Dog Soldiers, something like that. But we don't really get that much stuff. Typically, what we get kind of stinks. I don't know why. It's a strange thing.
And then, like when you watch Van Helsing, and it's a movie like that, they're so animated that it takes you out.
Yeah.
So it's like if they could find a balance between some CG and some practical to make a good look, they should be able to make a good looking werewolf now.
Oh, I don't know how you could say that about Van Helsing. It was so good.
All right, what you got?
You're getting a little heat in the.
I heard.
Well, I have It's Alive 2. So the first movie.
Is that a Kiss album, Alive 2?
Actually, what is this called? I think it's called It Lives Again, technically. I don't think it's called It's Alive 2. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Yeah. So the first movie, this baby is born and it's a killer, and it's this little monster thing with claws and fangs and teeth. And in the second movie, they say there were, I don't remember how many had been born, and this was kind of a thing. And they didn't know if it was environmental causes. They didn't know if it was a drug. I think it was a birth control drug. They weren't sure if that was what was causing it. So in this one, the main guy from the first one, who his wife gave birth to the child, goes to another couple and tells them, your baby is going to be born like mine, and the government is going to kill it as soon as it's born. We need to take you somewhere where you can give birth to the child, and we can take it and keep it safe. So I thought that's kind of a cool idea, off the back of a weird story about killer babies. How does the government and, other people, how do they handle this? So, all right, I'm in. Again, pacing, not great, but I dug the idea. It kind of falls off at the end. They go to this compound where the babies are being kept. I think 3 babies are staying there. And it was pretty good. It was entertaining. The babies just ravaged people at different points, which is hilarious. And you see quite a bit more of them in this. I'm guessing they had more of a budget. So a worthy follow-up. I didn't feel like it was a big step down from the second one, which is kind of what I expected. I felt like maybe just a little bit, but I don't know. At the same time, I thought the story was actually better. So if you liked the first one, I have a feeling you're going to like the second one. It's very close for me.
That's good news.
Yeah, still done by Larry Cohen. So if you really didn't like the first one, this isn't going to be any better. But
I need to watch these just because it's Larry Cohen. And I think I saw the first one, but I can't remember. I'm going back and watching so many movies that I'm not sure if I saw or not. And I'm having fun with it. That's part of the fun of doing this show. But the Larry Cohen, I need to watch that documentary about him too.
Yeah, King Cohen, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that yet. But yeah, I mean, have you seen all three of these?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, the first and second one are not a big difference. So you might dig them.
I think I saw the first one when I was in high school, but it's all a blur. But I know I didn't see any of the sequels.
Yeah, same. I know I saw the first one, but I remembered so little of it. I remembered it being kind of boring, and rewatching, I was like, yeah, no wonder when I was 16, I thought this was boring as hell.
Yeah. All right. I went back and had me some horror comfort food and watched Pumpkinhead.
Oh, yeah. Now you're talking.
Stan Winston. So this is like a beloved movie. And if you've never seen it, you should check it out. It is not the greatest movie in the world by any means.
No.
But the love that went into the creature effects in this movie alone. If you watch, I think that the documentary about the 80s horror, I think they touch on it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
They went to great lengths to make Pumpkinhead look good. It's got Lance Henriksen.
Yep.
Basically, he's got a kid. These tourists come by and they're riding motorcycles and they accidentally kill his kid. So he summons Pumpkinhead from a local witch to wreak vengeance on them. And all kinds of madness happens. The witch looks awesome.
Story.
Yeah, because he's showing the trailer now. The witch looks awesome in this movie. And I haven't seen this in ages. This was one of those ones that like you catch on the Sci-Fi Channel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, Pumpkinhead's on. So it got me thinking. If Stan Winston did this movie, and he's the king of effects and things like that. So this is a good one to go if you're just looking for like, what's one I haven't seen in a while I should check out. Pumpkinhead's good. I haven't seen any of the sequels though. So
I haven't either.
I don't know. Maybe I'll go down that road one day. But
Damn it! I don't think it's on my list. Now I have to add it.
how many Pumpkinheads are there?
At least 3, but I think there might be more. Look.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. I was like going through. It's like, what am I going to watch? And you have 50 million movies in your queue, and I just went and I just had the epiphany. When I go, oh, I've been putting off Pumpkinhead for so long. Let's get this going, and it was just the right speed. I really enjoyed it. So good time.
Yeah, I watched that, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, and yeah, it's dead simple. It's not an earth-shattering film, but it's one of those that's just fun to go back and rewatch. I dig the pacing, I dig the effects. It's just fun.
Yeah, you watching it was kind of the fire. I was like, oh yeah, I got a Pumpkinhead. Jesus, it's been a long time. So.
Yeah, it's fun. The sequels scare me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that they're not going to be good. So I'm curious if anyone in the chat has watched these. Let me know because maybe I'll do that next. I don't know. It has me nervous. Okay, so of course I watched It's Alive 3, Island of the Alive, and Hunter's description of this was one of the reasons I wanted to go and watch this series. It is so ridiculous, but one thing I do like about this, it takes itself dead seriously. Like if mutant killer babies were born, how would the government handle them? So it starts in a courtroom where they're arguing over, should we just kill these babies? Or what should we do? And there's stop motion animation of the child in this, which is a thing of beauty. There wasn't any in the other ones, which makes it a little mystifying as to why the hell it's in this.
Do you ever think that kids now who watch these old things, they don't realize like when we were younger, just inserting stop motion in the middle of a movie was just, you're like, oh, okay, that's a special effect, but you totally accepted it. Whereas now they'd be like, what the hell is that? Whoa, that looks so stupid.
Yeah, it looks terrible. But when you grew up with it, it's a pure nostalgic thing for sure, but I dig it. So they decide they're going to put the 5 babies that were still alive because they had stopped, these mutations had stopped being born. The drug is taken off the shelves, which they didn't really know what was causing it in the first 2 movies. In this one, they basically just say it was the drug. And so the babies aren't born anymore. And they decide to put them on an island and just let them grow up. And
the Jurassic Park of babies.
Yeah, that's literally what I thought. Like, did Michael Crichton watch It's Alive 3 and think, hey, I like it? So 5 years later, they decide to go back to the island to see if they've grown up because they thought they would grow. I think by the time they were 5, it'd be the equivalent of us being like 13 or 14.
Didn't anybody watch Wrath of Khan? You never just drop somebody off and then come check on them
No.
years later.
No, absolutely not. This movie stars Michael Moriarty. And he gives a very strange performance in this. Very strange. At times he's angry. At times he's singing and goofy and playful. In times when he absolutely should not be. It is odd. This movie is several steps up on the effects factor. You see way more of the babies, way more kills, stop motion animation. There's a different location with the island and everything, but it's dumb. Like the movie is dumb. So film quality wise, this is several steps down.
Wait, you're saying a movie about an island of mutant babies is dumb?
It's shocking.
Come on.
I was as surprised as you. But it was entertaining throughout. So yeah, it's a lesser film for sure. But if you're just looking for some sleaze, some exploitation stuff, this will fit the bill for you. But it's not good. And the idea is just preposterous. I mean, it's some of the stuff Cohen is doing this. This guy's a really good director, and he makes decisions that are so weird. Like he has cops running at one of these. I guess it's like a teen now, and they're shooting at it, but they're getting so close it just keeps like hip tossing them off this building, like a half a dozen cops just back to. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Just weird shit like that. They show one of the creature's boobs, and it just looks like a human breast. It's not deformed like the rest of the baby. I'm like, what? Like, just weird decisions. I don't know. He just wanted a boob in the movie, I guess.
The effects budget was low.
Yeah, they just went and found somebody with a nice breast and put her in. So, solid series, enjoyable. If you do not like pre-80s movies because of pacing, this is going to be a bit of a slog for you. The whole series it's just how movies were pre-80, So if you grew up watching stuff like this, you're probably going to get a kick out of it. And it's Larry Cohen. So fun series. Definitely not an all-time classic. Not one I'll be revisiting for a long time. It'll probably be 20 more years when I can't remember what the hell happens in these. And I'll go back. But somebody, I don't remember who it was, put them out in high definition. So they look really good. Like way better than the VHS I would have watched the first one on, 20 years ago. So solid choices, Audra.
Excellent. Well, I went back and watched another movie that I hadn't seen in a while, but I didn't quite go back as far this time because Pumpkinhead was 1988, Werewolf was 1961. I just went back to 2014 this time. Have you seen Starry Eyes?
Oh, yeah. I really thought that was a good one.
I thought that was one of the best movies of the year. Then on Twitter, in one of the conversations I was having, somebody was like, should I watch this movie? So it's like, oh, hell yeah, you should watch it. It's great. And then I go, you know what? I've been thinking about revisiting that. Maybe you've inspired me. So the other night I was like, what am I going to watch? Let me pop on Starry Eyes. Because I remember I liked it and I can remember parts of it. But there was also I forgot. I was like, well, I can't remember exactly everything that happens in that movie. I just remember the gist of it. Oh my God, am I happy I went back and watched it again. I forgot so many of the great things that happened in that movie. The third act of that movie is mental.
It really is.
But the first two acts are great too. It escalates. So if you have not seen this movie, you really should check it out. It is really good. It's a little weird. I actually watched a YouTube video, some guy who analyzes the occult in movies. I was just, after I watched it, I want to watch some reviews on this. What did people think of it? And I found this guy who goes through the movie and points out all the occult symbols and things. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So that was interesting. I didn't see half of this stuff, but I forgot just how friggin' nuts the third act is. And
I remember there's a head crushing scene that is whew.
Yeah, there's some kills. Like there's some gore. So this is basically about a girl in Hollywood who's got like a dead end job at like a Hooters kind of restaurant, and she's trying to make it in the film industry, and she's going on auditions and stuff, and then she goes to an audition and gets called back, and essentially she's getting kind of like Harvey Weinstein by like a satanic cult.
Yeah, that sums it up.
And the lead actress is great in it, because she has to show some range in this movie. So
She does.
I am so glad I went back, because like I said, I remember I really liked this movie, but I genuinely forgot some of these scenes. It's like, oh my God, I didn't remember that. This is awesome. So 2 big thumbs up. And if you haven't seen it, go check out Starry Eyes. It's on Prime too. So
Oh, it is on Prime? I want to revisit that. I saw it when it came out. I haven't watched it since.
it's funny because when I went to Prime, it said, do you want to watch it again? I was like, oh wow, like 2014, and this thing remembers that I watched it.
So I just looked up this actress, Alex Eso. She played Wendy Torrance in the flashbacks in Doctor Sleep.
Oh my God.
I did not see that at all, and now I can't get it out of my head.
Oh, scroll up. Let me get a look at her again. Oh my God, she was great.
Yeah,
because she had that line between like imitation and making her own.
yeah,
Like they really did that balance well.
yeah. She nailed it. That was perfect casting and perfect performance. So good for her. She's great in Starry Eyes. I love how it's basically a send up of Hollywood, and people, they've always said there are all these occultists in Hollywood and child predators and shit like that, and this took that and just ran with it.
Oh yeah,
and it's a lot of fun. Now I want to go back and rewatch that.
I highly recommend it. I'm telling you, man, I had a good week because I had fun with every movie I watched, but closing out with this one, I was like, actually, I've got one more, but it got me thinking. I was like, sometimes I talk about movies and I just assume everybody else has seen them. And I'm like, my God, if you haven't seen Starry Eyes, you drop what you're doing. Wait till this podcast is over and then go watch it.
Yes, of course. So there is a movie that just came out that I want us to watch. I'll get to that in a minute. But my buddy wants to watch it with me. And he has not seen the first Bad Ben.
Oh, somebody was just asking us about this. Who was it? Was it Tim?
It was Tim. Yeah. So I don't know if he got to watch them or not, but the 8th movie in the series is out.
Oh,
and yeah, it's on Facebook. It looks like. I don't know if it's on Prime, but I saw it on Facebook.
that could be next week's movie.
That's what I'm thinking. So I was like, all right, dude, we got to watch Bad Ben then. I mean, there's never a bad time to watch Bad Ben. So I didn't tell him anything about it. I just put it on, and he's watching. He's like, what the hell is this? And he just keeps watching. He's like, is this supposed to be scary? Okay. And then he's like, is this supposed to be funny? I'm like, dude, you're going through the exact range of emotions I went through the first time I saw it. And he ended up thinking it was hilarious too. And he loved the selfie exorcism scenes. And his swearing is the freaking best. So I don't know how many times I've watched this movie, man. Way too many times. But it just doesn't get old. Nigel Bach hits my funny bone in a way few people do. And I know he said that this movie wasn't supposed to be funny. And there are legitimately a couple scenes he does really well, like where you'll see a shadow going between like a door crack, things like that. But he is just such a funny character that there's no way you're going to put him in a movie and I'm not going to laugh. The man is just funny.
Yeah, the brilliance of that movie is just like you said. You're watching it and you're like, is this supposed to be funny or serious? And then there's a couple of parts that are kind of scary. You're like, all right, this is serious. And then some ridiculous stuff happens. Like, no. Right. And then once he really kicks into gear, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
This is just its own animal.
And we've learned it by watching the other movies, because when he's not in the movies, they don't work as well. As soon as you put him in, I love it. It gets me.
Definitely. I have only seen all these movies like once.
Mhm.
So when you go through and you go back to Bad Ben, what's it like? Is it different the second time you watch it?
Uh, it is a little bit because I am laughing at everything from the beginning because I love this dude. So there probably wasn't that half an hour where I'm like, what is the tone of this film? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be thinking of this. So I think it's definitely different. And I watched it with my wife the first time, and we were laughing. And every time I've watched it since, I watch it with someone else. And always get a couple beers, put on Bad Ben, and it's a damn good time.
I remember the guy I work with who likes horror. After we both watched it, we were just like, "You see Bad Ben?" Or I think he recommended it to me because there's this found footage. You go watch it and tell me what you thought about it. And I came back and I'm like, that was interesting. And we had like an hour conversation about like, what the hell was that? What did we just watch?
Yep. It's the joy of Bad Ben.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to do one more real quick.
All right.
I watched an awesome documentary called Making Apes.
Mm.
This is about the makeup effects for Planet of the Apes. It talks a lot about the first movie, and then it kind of covers the other ones and just kind of the special effects, makeup effects in general, and how this had such an effect on it. So they go back to how this movie got made, how Charlton Heston got involved, the screen tests for the ape makeup, how the world was just blown away by people had never seen this before, and it just caused this phenomenon. And then you get to see the behind the scenes and like secrets about how Roddy McDowall's face could move better than the other apes and why that was. And then they bring back the guy who played Roddy McDowall's son ape. He's an older guy now, and they put him in the ape makeup, but they make him old at the end of it. And so it's really cool to see the guy. But just the stories about the filming of the movie and on what they had to do and how they did it, and seeing the behind the scenes, I just really enjoyed it. And I think this is where this is going to be one of those things for people like us. Like I told a friend of mine who's a normie, so they're like, "Oh, they watch all the stuff on Netflix? Did you watch the Jeffrey Epstein thing? Did you watch all the documentaries that everybody watches?" And I was like, "No, I watched this documentary about the makeup in Planet of the Apes." And they're like, "Oh, really? Good for you." I'm like, "No, this is so good." So there's definitely this is for a certain crowd, but like Hunter is gonna love this thing, and I think you will too. I think it's a really good. And like my nephew, who's 20, 21, he loves Planet of the Apes, and I texted him. I was like, "Oh, you got to watch this. You'll learn a lot about the film industry and where it was and where it came from, where it's going." Because they talk a little bit about CG towards the end and how you can blend the two and stuff like that. So I'm telling you, this was like a Sunday morning. I was like, I got to sneak something in before I got to get stuff done. And man, I was just so happy with it. So Making Apes is on Prime.
On Prime. Okay, that's what I was just going to ask. Nice. I haven't even heard of this. It didn't pop up for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of documentaries that I have bookmarked and I never get around to them. It's like, this is good, like Saturday, Sunday morning before you.
Nice. I'm going to take a look. I'm excited about that. I just watched all those movies. I think I talked about it on the show maybe 2 years ago. I went back and watched all the old ones straight through, and that was a good experience. These movies are it's shocking how good the apes still look.
There, yeah. And your childhood, like for me, Planet of the Apes was like one of the pillars. You're just like, oh my God, Planet of the Apes is on. Clear the deck, because it was only on like once a year.
Yep.
So it was like, clear the decks, Planet of the Apes is on.
Are you ready for the big one? Bad or Ben, this is the third one. This is the one with the ghost hunting crew made up of Jackie and Schmitty who come in. This is one of the few ones where there are a bunch of other actors where I actually think this is my favorite one of the series, if I had to guess. We had a blast watching this. We were wondering, why is she not wearing any uniform? She's in sandals, doing this, just the whole thing is funny. They're recording the show on an iPad. I mean, It's a lot of fun. And I remember when we did this, Jackie and Schmitty, I think they're a couple who, I don't know if they're doing sketch comedy, I think in
that's
Philadelphia, something like that. And they were listening to us talk about the movie, and they were asking him questions during a live stream that we were asking during the show. And that was when some of our listeners and other people noticed that he was pretending he did not know who we were. Even with all our interactions, they were like, "Have you heard of Final Guys?" He's like, "No." So, we should have got that couple on way back when, and we should still think about it because they were hilarious in the movie. And I would just love to hear about the process of how they make these movies.
Oh God, I would love to talk to them. They were great. I remember that. I think that's my favorite one too.
Yeah. I remember there were scenes where she was, I don't know if she was being possessed or a ghost was going through, and we're like, oh man, the acting is so bad, but nobody could make that look good. Robert De Niro cannot have somebody recording them on a GoPro in a 45-second shot and have it look like you're being possessed by a ghost. Who was it? Oh, you didn't see Winchester, right? So was it Helen Mirren has a possession scene in that, and it just looks terrible, and it's Helen freaking Mirren. So this couple's funny, and I don't know. We should definitely try to get them on. It's been years now. Maybe they're not even interested, but I would love to talk to them. It'd be hilarious because they killed this movie.
We should just shoot them an email.
We should. So that was Batter Ben. My friend also loved that. He was like, "What the hell is going on?" But he also appreciated that this one goes for the comedy, like way more. Like he understood by the third movie. People find him funny. They want to see his humor because had he done Steelmanville Road? I think that was the second one.
Yeah.
And that was like my least favorite of the series. So he comes back. He's funnier than ever. His swearing is on point. This is the one where he has the nude scene at the end with the blackout bars and stuff. So he really leans into, I feel like what I'm assuming is his personality. And it's fun.
Was it the Crescent Moon one where it had the girl who was in the house most of the time and then he just shows up at the end?
Yes. Yeah, I think that was one where we were like, just skip to the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're good to go. Yeah. It just, the guy works. I don't know. Everyone we have sent has liked them too. Everyone we've sent to watch these. So I don't know. Dude, just.
What's the name of the new one?
I had it here on Facebook. Bad Ben Pandemic. So that should be fun. I'll figure out how you're supposed to watch it because I remember he had an app or something, like a Bad Ben app that came out. I never looked into it. So I don't know if you need that to watch it. I'm not sure because I didn't see it on Prime, but figure it out.
Oh my God. I'm not getting an app.
I will support this man in all his endeavors.
All right, I guess it's time to get to the main feature.
I wasn't ready.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
All right. While we were talking, or while we were doing the transition, I looked up Bad Ben Pandemic, and here it is on Facebook.
Okay. I don't know that I want to watch a movie on Facebook.
And it's like an hour and 50 minutes.
Really? A Bad Ben film? Holy shit.
So, well, we'll talk about this with the fellas.
Yeah. That's kind of a rough way to watch it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got it up somewhere else. I'll check that app thing out. I don't know what the deal is.
Okay. All right. So we are talking about Random Acts of Violence. Jay Baruchel. Is it Baruchel or Baruchel?
I have absolutely no idea.
You can pull up the IMDb while we're talking.
Okay.
All right. So this movie is, there's this guy who writes comic books, Slasher Man. It's based on the I-90 killer, which was a real serial killer back when he was a kid, who went up and down I-90 in New York. He went on to write a comic book where Slasher Man is like the protagonist of the comic book, which is odd for a serial killer to be the protagonist. But
yeah.
So now he's kind of gotten to the point where he doesn't know how to end the series. So they're going to do a road trip along I-90 with his publisher, Jay Baruchel, his girlfriend or wife, which is the Fast and Furious
Jordana Brewster?
Donna
Is that her name?
Brewster. That's it. And another wannabe artist girl. And some murders start to happen along I-90 again.
Some non-random acts of violence.
Non-random. So there's your premise. There's your synopsis.
That was the least artsy one you've done in a while. That was just like
That's because I've been talking so much. There's nobody else that I'm just like, let's just
let's get it done.
So what'd you think?
I wasn't a huge fan of this. I liked parts of it quite a bit, and then other parts of it I was like, I don't understand kind of what's going on here. I thought the movie looked good. It almost had like a lot of color to it, particularly in some scenes, almost like a filter over it. And I thought the idea was really cool. I love the good story where an artist is being almost trapped by their art, whether that's someone imitating it or it coming to life. I have a story of my own I want to try to do with that at some point. I always think those are cool ideas. I don't think they're done all that often. So I dug that. But it was more the character stuff that I didn't think was great. And like none of these people had any kind of will to live, no survival instincts. They made very weird, poor decisions. It made it hard to root for some of them. This is definitely a movie I'd like to find on Shudder, but
it is on Shudder.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's a good pick for that.
I like this movie. I saw that. I guess it's another one of those polarizing movies where this movie's pissing off some people, and other people like it. I overall liked it, but I thought, there was some problems with it. But I thought that Jay Baruchel is a really good filmmaker, and he's got a really good potential.
I agree.
And then I heard a podcast with him talking about this movie, and I was like, oh, this guy's got the love. So it was great actually made me like the movie even more after hearing him talk about it after I'd seen it already, with what he was trying to do. But there's some really great horror kills and stuff like that in this. So, almost like on, they're pretty brutal, kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre level murders.
The first one in particular.
Yeah. And they go down a little bit of a 7 route a bit. You're going to fall out of your chair when you hear me say this. I actually think this movie could have been a little bit longer.
I am very shocked to hear you say that.
Usually I'm like, oh, it's 50 minutes sounds good to me. This one I actually thought they could have fleshed out some stuff a little bit better with a couple of more scenes. But the interesting thing is, kind of like you were saying, it's posing the question about whether creating art that celebrates murder is good or bad or something, something along those lines. Yet in a meta way, that's what this movie is too. It's not just a comic book; it's this movie. So I see a lot of people online who were like, what the hell, man? This movie's doing just what they're preaching against or whatever. I was like, I don't know if they're preaching or they're just kind of bringing that to the surface. I don't know what you think about that.
What was the film we watched? Oh my God, it was terrible. Was it the Manson family murders? I think it was. It was a Sharon Tate film.
Oh, The Haunting of Sharon Tate?
Yeah, where they were just, I don't know, the way they were depicting these real life murders just felt icky.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's what this movie was talking about, because he was glamorizing real life murders, not just fictionalized, gratuitous nonsense like we like, but that these were real people who had been killed, and he was sensationalizing the murder. It'd be like if you did a comic book about Charles Manson and how cool he was. I'm not going to be able to look at that and think this is okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know, people not seeing the difference between an exploitation film and or just a regular horror film for that matter, and what this comic book guy in this movie was doing. What he was doing was gross. And one of the things that bothered me is that no one around him realized it was gross until the murder started. And then his girlfriend is like, you love this stuff and you make it look great. I'm like, what the hell do you think he's been doing for, however many issues?
But she was going to make a film about from the victim's standpoint. So wasn't she kind of on that already?
But she never seemed to notice. Like, she was really angry at him for glamorizing it about a third of the way through the film. I'm like, what? No shit. You're reading his notes. Like, you read the comics, right? Like, what the hell? So I don't know. That was a part that I struggled with. If maybe she would have been not digging it the whole time and was like more aggressive. I don't know. It just seemed like a very harsh turn. But what he was doing was gross, and it was one of my problems with his character. It's like, it's hard for me to root for this dude when what he's doing is not cool, you know?
The other thing that you mentioned, the color, they would like slip into like the whole like animated and graphic novel kind of stuff and out as sort of an artistic choice. And so I think I actually liked the color palette in it because I thought,
I did too.
or the color choice, I thought it was pretty cool. And that was it. Like when I watched it, I said, he's a good filmmaker, like visually and visual storytelling. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. So he's there. And from a horror standpoint, like I said, the kills in this movie, like if you're looking for there's no humor. Like I kept expecting this to be a horror comedy.
Me too.
Because of him, and it's not at all. And the kills are, man, that first kill is something else.
Yeah, it really sets a high bar for the kills that I don't know that it ever meets again, because that one is intense. But that scene's a great example of my kind of what I like and what I didn't like about the movie. I thought the intensity of the kill really was gripping. But then the two women that are in the car watching it, and it's long, him stabbing someone. It's long, and they're just sitting there not doing anything for a very long period of time. And I was like, come on, like have them get out, or maybe the door's locked, or like I don't know. It was one of those things where I was like, yes. Oh, but it's still pretty good, you know? So it had me on both sides of the fence.
See, I felt like a lot of people just like they freeze and I don't know what the hell to do. And
they do. It's true.
Well, we can get into it more in spoilers.
That happens a lot in the movie. No one has a survival instinct at all.
Then the further you get into the movie, the more you start to get to know the actual killer.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think of the killer?
Well, I probably shouldn't say what I was just going to say because that might be spoilers. Look cool. I don't really want to say too much.
Okay,
more.
we'll save it for the for the. All right, so we can get to spoilers. So I think because it's on Shudder, I'd recommend this. If it was a rental, I'd be like, I think it's worth a look. But if you waited, being that it's on Shudder, I would say if you have Shudder, you should definitely watch it.
I had some issues with it, mostly character stuff, like I said. But I mean, for Shudder, of course. I mean, if you're not, this is what Shudder's for. It's for finding little movies like this that maybe aren't perfect, but did some cool stuff.
I think if you just stumbled upon this movie instead of it being like heralded as much as it is, you might be like, "Oh my god, you got to see this movie."
I knew nothing about it. When you mentioned it, I'd never even heard of it. I am so out of, like, I don't pay attention to anything. You say, let's do this movie this week. I'm like, okay. I don't watch trailers. I don't look up who's in it. I just hit play. So I had no clue what was going on with it.
Cool. All right. Spoiler bell. Let's spoil this bad boy. If you don't want to get spoiled, see you next week. If you do want to hear spoilers, this is your time.
Yeah.
All right. So, first of all, the main character guy is the dude from Cabin in the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
Did you realize that?
Mm-hmm.
So when he was a kid, his mother was murdered by the I-90 killer.
Right. Which was confusing to me at the end.
Yeah, I thought they could have fleshed that out a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought this up. This is one of my biggest problems. It made it confusing for me. In the flashback scenes where the mother is being killed and the kid is sitting there drawing it, the kid is black. but the actor is white. The adult actor.
I took it that he's a light-skinned black person.
Well, they definitely didn't match the skin tones for sure. And it was confusing the shit out of me because it was like, I think they're saying he saw this as a kid, but then they don't look anything alike. Like there's no way that's the same kid. So I didn't know. And then I'm thinking, what is the adult actor black or white? Like, is he mixed race? Like I couldn't tell. And it was really the casting was really throwing me off. The casting of little kid. And it made me confused watching the film. And then the other thing that got me is I'm like, wouldn't his girlfriend have known in her research on the victims that he was a victim himself and his mother was like, how would she not know this? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I agree. This is where I got hairy.
Yeah, I felt like I was missing something. I didn't know if maybe like I just looked down at the wrong time or I don't know.
Yeah, they kept showing little flashbacks to the incident, and then when they finally let it play out, and the playing it out was kind of cool. But you're right; it took me a few minutes to be like, "Oh, that's him."
Yeah, I was like, "What is this?"
The eyes were the thing. I was like,
my wife knows they were both light. I think something like that. I didn't see it. She told me after. So
now there's a whole scene in a house that's on fire at the end that I thought was great. The
set dressing with the entrails and everything was awesome. Yeah.
And in the podcast I heard, he explained like where they had like practical effects and where they had, but they really lit the place on fire and they just enhanced a couple of flames and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking all the guts and everything everywhere was very Texas Chainsaw Massacre almost. I thought that looked great.
Yeah, and they had a variety of. It was great to hear him talk about that because they had different props for close-ups versus wide shots and things like that. I mean, yeah, this movie, like if you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Seven and things like that, he does not shy away from the gore.
No, he definitely does not. You mentioned Seven. I thought this movie was going in I guess not Seven, same director, Fight Club kind of direction where he was the killer. Mm-hmm. So I think because I had that in my head when they started showing what was actually going on, and then I wasn't matching the kid with the actor, I was like getting super freaking confused. And then like, I did get it at the end, but it was like, whoa, I was not anticipating that at all. I thought the killer didn't actually exist, or at least that was not the same killer from, 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. There's another part where he's at the convention where he's signing his books and stuff, and somebody cuts him on the hand, and he never looks for who cut him.
He was fine with it. Yeah, he just bandaged it.
Like that was one little part that was like, that feels like you're glossing over something.
Yeah, I thought that whole thing was kind of glossed over. I mean, as soon as you see a kill exactly like your comic book that you're driving past, you go to the cops. There is no explanation. And all four of them know about it. And not one of them is like, screw you, I'm calling right now. They're all just like,
well, you guys, I'm going home.
Yeah. They're like, well, we should call, but it's cool. I don't know. That was some of the stuff I struggled with. I'm like, man, the characters just are not making much sense to me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe if they added 10, 15 minutes to this movie, they could have just fleshed out a little bit of stuff a little bit more.
True. It's true. Yeah, that was most of my problems with it, because the number one thing when it ended, other than me being confused, I said that movie looked really good.
I thought it looked great. So that's why I think I have a lot of the same nitpicks that you do, but I came out of there going, all right, the popcorn eating, just give me a fun movie. I got satisfied because there's great kills. It was visually interesting. I thought there was a lot of good stuff going on, and I thought this was a movie made by a horror fan for a horror fan. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than a lot of other stuff I watch. So because I'm on a podcast talking about it, or if it was just you and me having a beer somewhere, yeah, there's a couple of problems with it, but definitely check it out. That was kind of my, like, I'm not going to buy it on Blu-ray or anything like that unless I meet Jay Baruchel and I can get it signed.
Yeah, my stupid writer brain was struggling with some of the little details. But yeah, I did think the idea was cool. I thought the killer, the actor they cast as the killer, you really only see him at the end. He had a great intense look.
Oh yeah, and when he's like firing himself up to
Yeah.
do the kills, that was awesome. And that's what I'm saying. I was like, oh man,
Great little touch.
great touch. And I said, all the murder scenes are like brutal.
Yeah.
But it's not I don't know, gratuitous. It's not gratuitous. It's like a good horror movie. Like it didn't felt like forced. It felt
Only
like
the first
appropriate.
kill is gratuitous, I would say.
But that just sets the stage for how dangerous this guy is.
Yeah, it worked. It was my favorite kill in the whole thing. And even, I mean, he shoots a kid at one point. You don't see it, but
Right.
that was intense stuff.
Like it's not like Victor Crowley level
No, it's
kind
not.
of comedic kills, you know,
No.
like
You're right. It kept it serious the whole time, for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So I'd be curious to see what the other guys thought of this movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I would too. And I
Uh,
wonder if he's going to is it Barish? I wish I knew how to say his name. If he's going to keep doing horror films or if he's trying to move on to bigger things.
I got the sense from the podcast that he'll do more horror, and I hope we'll, because between him and Franco, I'd like to see some of these guys who have their roots in comedy and good comedy, going into to do horror. I think like there's a field of culprits that we know. Like the trailer for the new Haunting of Bly Manor came out for Netflix.
Mhm.
So you got Flanagan, you got Ari Aster, you got Jordan Peele, you know, the usual suspects. I wouldn't mind getting a few other new blood in there. If this is, I think this is a great first entry for I mean, he did the sequel to Goon.
I didn't even know there was a sequel to Goon.
Neither did I. The hockey movie with Stifler.
Yeah, I've never even seen Goon, the first one. So
Yeah, neither have I.
yeah, I don't know. I like when some of these guys get into directing. We just watched was it The Rental?
Yeah, that was
Franco. Yeah. They're oddly enough they have a good eye for this stuff. So keep it coming.
Yeah, both of them. I think those are good first entries, and I think you'll look back and be like, oh yeah, then the next one. Like I can see them getting better as they go.
Yep.
So
Oh, there was one other thing I want to mention before we go. I thought all the comic book scenes, even though sometimes I didn't really understand why some of them were placed where they were or whatever, I thought they were all done really well.
yeah,
I thought they looked good. It was cool artwork.
yeah, and that brought a different element to it.
It did.
Actually, when the other girl gets killed, I thought that was also a great kill, where the guy just comes up behind her while she's sitting on
Oh.
a picnic table.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and then the scene where at the end of all right, there's a couple of things really quick. At the end of the movie, there's the couple that's in the car, and he's trying to like, no, don't go, and the guy like takes out the car. But then when he's chasing Jordana Brewster and
Mhm.
her death, I also thought that was great.
Oh, and he was headbutting her.
Yeah, like she gets stuck on a branch and stuff, and then he pulls her out, and she's like, "I'm not going to scream for you," or something like that.
Yeah, apparently she can run really fast that she impaled herself on a stick.
Yeah, it was like Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought she did a good job too. Her character was the one I struggled with the most, but she's a good actress and I like her stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's all I got, man.
all right. Well, if you people watch it, let us know in our YouTube page comments, or go hit us up on Twitter and let us know what you thought about it. And we don't know what we're doing next week, so watch our Twitter or our Facebook, and we'll let you know what we're going to watch. It may be the new Bad Ben. It may not be.
I hope so. I hope we can find a way to watch it not on my laptop.
Yeah. Ugh. All right.
see.
If not, we'll come up with something good.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right. So thanks everybody in the chat for joining us, and see you all next week. Peace out.
Bye.